Welcome, friends. Welcome to this new way of interaction. I always like to interact with others face to face, but this is also a very new format of interaction that has been introduced to us by technology, and we have to change. We have to change ourselves with changing times and with the changing situation. And if you see that we are in the midst of one of the most difficult phases of history. These are uncertain times. These are unprecedented times. The world had never witnessed any situation of this nature and scale ever. We have to learn to cope to this kind of a catastrophic situation that is unfolding itself very rapidly, and we must learn to cope with this changing reality of life. Today, we shall discuss about a very relevant topic that is not only relevant from the point of view of syllabus, but also very relevant from the point of view of the changing situation in the world. And we are going to discuss about human security. Is there anything called inhuman security? So, what is so human about security? If you see that by security you all mean physical safety, that nobody should come to harm us. That is the very fundamental notion of security that we all know or understand. But let us discuss about this new concept that has been introduced almost 2.5 decades ago by a Pakistani economist. We shall discuss in detail about that. If you see that in 21st century, the concept of security has undergone a radical change. It's no more about only physical connotation of security. Now there are so many new threats that we are confronted with, like there are natural disasters, man-made disasters, all kinds of conflict, internal violence, massive displacement, health related risk, and we know better what is happening today, the kind of pandemic that we had never experienced in the form of this corona, sudden economic financial downturns, human trafficking, drug trafficking, terrorism. So all kinds of threats are staring us on our face, and these threats have emerged as challenges to peace, security, and development of the world. So the point is that we have moved beyond the traditional notion of security, where both the state as an entity and the people, their well-being have been seriously challenged. Human security, we must understand that it is completely a new and a different conception of security. It's a people-centered concept. It's one of the most comprehensive conceptions of security. It is a broad concept that looks at very critical and pervasive threats that affects the survival, livelihood, and dignity of the individual. It highlights a set of elementary freedoms that constitute the vital core of life. It's not only security from any kind of physical harm or injury, but there are three fundamental freedoms that the security addresses. One is freedom from fear, the second is freedom from want, and the third one is freedom to live in dignity. We shall discuss about all this in great detail. Let me first talk about when this concept was introduced. In 1994, a great economist, a Pakistani economist, his name was Mehbubul Haq. He was given the responsibility to prepare the Human Development Report by United Nations, And while drafting the United Nations Development Report under the United Nations Development Program, he introduced this concept called human security. And this concept of human security was adopted formally in 1995 by the United Nations in its World Summit on Social Development, which was held at Copenhagen. This United Nations Development Program's 1994 Human Development Report, it has included 7 securities, or you can say threats in 7 areas to uh, create this kind of a panoramic or umbrella conception of security that we know as human security. And these 7 securities or security in 7 fields are economic security, food security, health security, environmental security, personal security, community security, and political security. Uh, First, let us understand that what is economic security. We all know about these securities, but let me again at the outset make it clear that unlike any other traditional concept of security, human security uh, signifies security in all these 7 core areas. First is economic security. What is economic security? Nobody is attacking you, nobody is doing any harm to you, but you do not have any money. Can you say that you are secure? So, if you do not have any money, if you do not have any financial resources, uh, how can you have food? How can you have access to basic amenities of life? So, in the absence of economic security, even if you are completely free from any kind of attack, your security is affected. So, economic security requires an assured basic income for every individual, either from productive or remunerative work. And if you see that today, almost a quarter of world's population are not economically secure. So, you may say that in developing countries, the issue of economic security assumes a bigger challenge than in developed countries. But let me tell you, I have seen even in a developed country like the United States of America, which is the richest country of the world, the unemployment situation is quite alarming. Even on the streets of New York, you'll find people standing on in a long queue to get free food. There are so many beggars roaming around the streets of Washington, San Francisco, New York, all the most affluent cities of the world. So the point is that every individual needs money. Every individual needs resources. At the end of the month, he needs some money in his hand so that he can buy food. He can buy all other amenities which are required to lead a good life or a meaningful, at least a normal life. Just imagine that you all are doing your undergraduate or postgraduate. After having postgraduate degree in political science, if you do not get a job, what will happen to you? Let me tell you that nobody is going to give you a job on the basis of your postgraduate degree in political science. You have to work harder. You have to again appear in the competitive examinations. Either you have to prepare for NET, JRA, for you have to sit for banking PO examination, or you have to qualify in the civil services examination, or you have to become a teacher or a lawyer or whatever, or a journalist. But if you do not have economic security, Can you lead a normal life? So you see that this NREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that this kind of program ensures that a person at least gets some days of work whereby he can be paid for his work. If you go to interior parts of Odisha or India, you'll find there are millions of people who want to work, but there is no work for them. That explains why so many uh, workers are moving out of different states. There is so much migration in search of employment, in search of livelihood. So economic security is very vital. Then comes food security. Food security is very basic. It requires that all people at all times must have physical and economic access to basic food. Without food, how can you live? You need food to survive. That is perhaps the most basic need of every individual in this world. So if you see that, it's if you do not have money, but this food security is related to economic security. If you are unemployed, if you do not have any work to do, if you are not being paid by anyone for doing any kind of work, then how can you buy food? From where you will get the food? Nobody is going to give you food for free. So you need money to buy food. So that means you must be economically capable to buy food. And the second thing is, you must have physical access to food. Even if you have money, though no food is available anywhere near you, that also denies you the access to food. So the point is that according to United States, the availability of food is not a problem. What is the problem? The problem is the poor distribution of food and lack of purchasing power. These two fundamental problems are very true about a country like India. If you see that, you must have come across many news in newspapers that food grains are rotting. They are being rotten in different because there are no cold storages to keep food grains. So if you see that, there are food grains are there are the plenty of food is available. India is today a self sufficient country in terms of food grains, but whereas people are dying out of hunger, food grains cannot be delivered to them because of lack of a proper distribution mechanism, a complete failure of the public distribution system in many places. And there is a nexus between the all kinds of nexus that ensures that food grains are not delivered to the needy people, and also lack of purchasing power. If you see Kalahandi is one of the richest districts in terms of food grain production, and it produces perhaps the finest quality of rice in the entire world. But Kalahandi is known for hunger. Kalahandi is known for poverty. People do not have the purchasing power to buy food, whereas Kalahandi is such a productive and fertile land that it produces the best quality of food grains. So the point is, this food security is related to economic security, and to tackle the problems relating to access to food is also related having access to an assured income every month. Then next comes health security. Health security, we all are facing one of the worst crises ever in the form of this COVID-19 or corona pandemic. Health security aims to guarantee a minimum protection from diseases and unhealthy lifestyles. So every person must have access to basic healthcare facilities. No person can be allowed to die because of a disease. Sometimes if you see in a developing country like India, where our population is more than a billion, almost 1.3 or 1.4 billion, uh, all do not have access to basic healthcare facilities. There are no hospitals, there are no doctors available to treat the patients, and this is almost a daily news that somebody died because he could not reach the hospital in time, and a mother, an expecting mother is being carried on this on a rickshaw or by people to hospital which is almost 10 miles or 15 miles away. And the point is, the ambulance cannot reach those inaccessible villages to carry an expecting mother. uh, we in Bhubaneswar, Cuttack or Puri do not know this kind of thing, but if you see that is also again a regular news item in Odia newspapers, that in Malkangiri people died, 15, 20, 30 people died because of cholera, because of dysentery, because of malaria. If 20 people would have died in Bhubaneswar because of malaria or cholera or dysentery, that would have made national headlines. But we do not care. In places like Malkangiri, Nabarangpur, Kalahandi, Koraput, people still at in this 21st century die because of dysentery, because of uh, fever. So people do not have access to basic healthcare facilities. So if you do not have access to basic healthcare facilities, how can you say that I am secure? Security means your health security. So if you see that in developing countries, the major causes of death were infectious and parasitic diseases, and in developed countries of the West, the major killers were diseases for circulatory system. And also another aspect of this health security is, now people are dying because of lifestyle related diseases. Almost every third person is diabetic, almost every fifth person is a patient of blood pressure. So the point is, because of our irregular lifestyle we are suffering, and we are facing all kinds of diseases. We do not have a disciplined lifestyle. So, according to United Nations, both developing and developed countries, the threats to health security is greater for poor people in rural areas, particularly children. People die because of malnutrition. You have seen images of Nagoda, where there are so many hundreds of children who are malnourished. The mothers are malnourished, and the children die because of malnutrition. They do not have access to proper health services, they do not have access to clean water, and they do not have access to other basic necessities. And this is a fact of life in many of our villages, not only in Odisha but elsewhere. So we must keep ourselves healthy all the time. Then environmental security. Environmental security means protecting people from short, both short term and long term ravages of nature. Man made threats is nature. I can go on this environmental security. You see that how environment is changing so very fast, how climate change has become a regular phenomena. Every year the temperature of the world is rising by almost 1 degree centigrade. There is no rain during rainy season, there is no winter during winter days. It's a prolonged summer, and the temperature of the earth is rising very fast. The ice in the northern pole and the southern pole are melting, and all kinds of, we are facing all kinds of problems because of this rapidly changing nature of the climate. You see that uh, now uh, when there should be rainfall, there is no rain. When we should witness winter, there is no winter, but rain is happening during winter days, winter is happening when there should be rain. So the point is, there is a very irregular pattern of environment that is unfolding because we simply do not care about our environment. In the name of development, we are destroying our environment, we are destroying our forest, we are destroying our rivers, we are destroying our mountains, we are killing all the animals. The entire ecosystem has been destroyed beyond repair, and we are still going on killing our own environment. Global warming has become a reality. There is ample air pollution. Now this groundwater level is receding very fast, and in developing countries especially, the access to clean water is one of the biggest issue. People do not have access to clean water. Even in a metropolitan city like Delhi, water scarcity is a major problem. So we must take care of our environment, our natural surrounding, to have a healthy life. And then comes personal security. Personal security, you all know that we must remain safe. People must be protected from physical violence, and also uh, from all kinds of crime. Uh, the number of crimes are increasing in every country almost, and sometimes the most important issue here, sometimes the state becomes the perpetrator. The state becomes the reason of creating a sense of insecurity in the individual. So we must keep ourselves or our system so very clean, so that there is no crime, there is no violence, especially there is no violence against women. Women are the worst victims of all kinds of violence inside the home and outside also. So this is also an aspect of security. It's the perhaps the basic aspect of security that we all are aware of. Next comes community security. What does community security mean? Community security aims to protect people from the loss of traditional relationships and values, and from sectarian and ethnic violence. If you see that the traditional communities, like the tribals, they are often threatened. Their lives are threatened, their livelihoods are threatened, and most importantly, their traditional culture, customs, practices are threatened. I have gone to Niyamgiri. I have stayed there for some days, and if you see that the Dongoria Kandha of Niyamgiri, in a way, they are the most progressive of all people. They have their own customs, which they are following since time immemorial, for 1,000 years. They worship nature, they worship mountain, they worship rivers, they worship the trees. But in the name of development, we are trying to destroy their natural habitat, and we are forcing them to abandon their cultural practices, their customs. So, in the name of bringing them into mainstream, we are killing their culture. How many languages we have lost in last 4 5 decades? So, uh, because if you see that these tribal in Odisha is a state which has 62 tribal communities, and within every tribal community there are subgroups also who have their own unique, very distinct cultural practices, ethos, and principles. These cultural norms have to be preserved. As I was telling you that for a Kandha, this Odia is also an allied language. So a Kandha has to be taught in Kui or any other language that he understands. So we are killing languages, we are killing cultures. So every group, every ethnic group, every community has a distinct identity, and that has to be maintained, that has to be protected. So if you see that about half of world's countries have experienced some kind of inter-ethnic strife. There are all kinds of troubles within the ethnic groups, between the ethnic groups. So in 1993, the United Nations declared 1993 as the year of indigenous people, year of indigenous people, the real, the original inhabitants, whom we sometimes call aboriginals, sometimes we call them indigenous people, sometimes we call them tribals, sometimes we also call them primitive people. So this indigenous people have to be protected, and it is estimated that there are around 300 million aboriginal people in 70 countries, and they face all kinds of threats from within as well as from outside. They have to be saved for the world to be a better place. And then comes political security. Political security means that every country must have certain fundamental basic rights, political rights. In a country like China, they do not have any political freedom. They cannot express themselves freely. They cannot voice their opinion. They cannot say what they want to say. They cannot criticize the party. They cannot criticize the government. They cannot criticize the system. They cannot criticize the administration. That political security is very key aspect of security. Political security is concerned with whether the people who live in a society have some basic human rights or not, whether that society honors their basic human rights or not. So if you see that in many countries we are a democracy where we love to debate, where we love to discuss, where we love to criticize, and we have an opinion on almost every issue. But there are so many countries where there is no democracy, there is dictatorship. I just talked about China, and also in many countries of Middle East, in some African countries where there is dictatorship, there is no political freedom, and there is a torture is used. People are tortured if they voice their resentment against the government. People are arrested, people are killed. So human rights violations are very frequent uh, in many countries, and many governments, they try to control uh, or exercise control over the ideas and information. They do not release information. They do not want people to uh, what you call voice their opinions, and there is no freedom at all. So in the absence of the basic human rights, in the absence of freedom of speech and expression, in the absence of your right to express yourself freely or exercise your franchise or exercise your democratic rights, security doesn't mean anything. So that is also very necessary for the overall security of the people. Now you see that what are the differences between traditional notion of security and this new concept of human security. If you see, the first difference is that traditional security is about the security of the people, security of the state. When you say security, security of India, its territorial integrity. We see China and Pakistan as enemies of India. There we are not talking as such in terms of the security of the people of India, but security of the state as a geographical entity. Whereas human security is people centered. It talks about, it addresses the problems, the challenges, the issues that every individual faces in terms of food security, health security, personal security. So, here the well being of the individual is at the core of the concept of security. And whereas in terms of in the traditional notion of security, it is a state centric concept. Human security is people centric. Traditional security is state centric, human security is people centric. If you see that in traditional security, the threats are from most of the time from outside. We see, as I told you, that we see China, China and Pakistan as our enemies uh, for India's security. But if you look at human security talks about threats from both outside as well as internal threats. Economic deprivation is also a threat to human security. Environmental degradation is also a threat to human security. So, here in traditional security, always, most of the times you look at some outside agency, external actor who might pose a threat to uh, the state. But where, if you look at human security, this threat is not merely physical threat from an external actor. The threat might come in any form, whether it is lack of employment, whether it is lack of access to drinking water, or it is bad environment. The third most important difference is in the traditional concept of security, the main actor is state. State takes all decisions. The state evaluates the security situation. Uh, it decides uh, what are the threats, how to tackle those threats, how to respond to different threats. But in case of human security, the state is one of the actors but not the only actor. Here there are so many civil society organizations, there are non-governmental organizations, there are so many non-state actors, there are international organizations, funding agencies, an organization like Red Cross or WHO, they are involved in creating a better security framework for the individual. The state is one of the actors but not the only actor. While in case of traditional security, the state is the only actor. The last difference between traditional and human security is, here, if you want to keep your country secure against external threats, you have to go for military build-up, more expenditure on procuring tanks, rifles, or good drones. So it's all about uh, forming up your defense preparedness or military buildup. Whereas in human security, it's not only about protecting people from any threat, it's also about empowering people. Economic empowerment, social empowerment, political empowerment. In traditional sense of the security, if you see, it's all about alliances, military build-up, defense. In case of human security, it's all about empowering the people. If people are empowered, they can tackle any threat. Now, what is the relation between human security and human development? Are they the same, or is there any difference? And what is the interrelationship between these two concepts, security, development? Francis Stewart, a very renowned thinker and theoretician, had written a paper called development and security. And he argues that the concept of security and development are deeply interconnected. Human security forms an important part of people's well being and is therefore an objective of development. Development is what? Well being of the people. Human security is also about the well being of the people. So, an objective of development is the enlargement of human choices. So, when you have more choices, you have more avenues, when you have better and greater access to resources, that is development, that is also security. So, in that sense, both the terms are very much interconnected. And without human security, there cannot be any economic growth. And if there cannot be any economic growth, there can be no economic development. So, if you see that security, if people feel secure in every respect, all the 7 areas, core areas that I just discussed, if people feel healthy, if people are economically secure, if people are living in a good environment, if people are personally secure, if people have all the political freedoms, choices, people as part of the group are also secure, then a secure society, a secure people would contribute more to growth, and if there is good growth, there would be good development. So, if there are inequalities, there cannot be human security. If there are, you must understand this point very carefully, that when there are inequalities, the gap between rich and poor is quite uh, high. Then, in case of insecurities, it leads to all kinds of conflicts, all kinds of unhealthy competitions, and that leads to lack of security. And if there is lack of security, there can be no development. And here at the last, let me tell you that both these concepts have three fundamental elements. First, human security and human development are both people centered. Both are people centric concepts. They challenge the orthodox approach to security, like state security, liberal economic growth, etc. etc. Both emphasize that people are the ultimate ends but not means. People are at the core of both development and security. Both the concepts treat humans as agents, and both the concepts believe that human beings must be empowered to participate in the course of human evolution uh, or development. Second, both the concepts or both the perspectives are multidimensional. They are not they are not a single path oriented concepts. They are multidimensional, and both address people's dignity as well as their material and physical concerns. Here, this one concept is very important: people's dignity, which I started at the outset, the freedom to live with dignity. If you are hungry for a night, you can still go to sleep. But if you have been humiliated by someone along any line, caste line or by or any line, then you cannot sleep. So Indian Constitution says dignity of the individual. So it is there in the preamble, dignity of the individual. So dignity is one of the most important concepts in political theory. That is most important. Dignity has to be protected. Dignity has to be promoted. Dignity has to be maintained. And third, both the schools of thought, human development and human security, they consider poverty and inequality as the root causes of individual vulnerability. If people are poor, they cannot grow, they cannot prosper, they cannot be secure. And if there are deep inequalities within the society, that society can also not be called a secure society, a good society, or a proper society. So this is the relationship between human security and human development. Hope you liked my lecture, whatever had to say about the concept of human security. We'll keep meeting through this platform till things get normal. Stay home, stay safe, have a good time.